Okay, back again for voting. Let's start with 62.
Senate Bill 62. This is a bill that sets up a task force on education funding and student population growth. It would have 11 members, including 1 senator and 1 delegate. The governor would designate a chair, and the office of the governor would provide staff. And then there's 3 things that this group would look at, which is analyze challenges related to the delay in student enrollments count, because we use 1 year actual as opposed to current year. Analyze the connection between growing student populations and the provision of school funding, and then make recommendations to do that. And then the bill would sunset with the report due this December.
How do we feel about this?
We like it.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Senator Lewis Young. 143. Just don't like it.
Senate Bill 143, you do have a reprint on your desk. This has to do with the Department of Assessment and Taxation using geographic images as part of the property appraisal aid process. What the bill does is it allows for any cost to establish this database, because they would need a vendor. The first 1 million would be covered by the counties, and then after that it would be a 50% county and 50% state. On page 3 of the bill, this is where the amendment comes into play. So you can see in the current draft of the bill that the DGS has to help with the procurement and gather information on requirements of the appraisal aids for consulting with the department. The amendment would require the Department of Assessments and Taxation to develop policies to protect identity of anyone captured in those images. And then 2 weeks later, at the bottom of page 3, a report to you all indicating what those policies were.
Senator McCray, this was the amendment you came up with, right?
Yes, sir. You want to speak on it?
Sure. Why don't you say a word?
Yep. Colleagues, I think as we heard the hearing, I think that we spent a lot of time on like body camera, things similar to this when we're capturing images, and didn't feel like we, that this one was as well thought out. So just asking them to have some level of guidance in reference to how their employees operate when they're covering these still images, and then asking them to come back to us. The agency was very amenable to what was put forward in reference to the amendment too, Mr. Chair.
Questions on the amendment? All those in favor of the amendment?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, on the bill, let's have a little discussion on this. Anything? I just heard something over there on the other side.
Of a system, I don't recall any testimony as to what a system could potentially cost.
Pushing $1 million in the county the first million, and then 50% after that. It could be expensive. And then I guess, why are we switching to this type of software versus the standard procedure that we currently use?
Chairman?
Yes.
My understanding is that we're already doing it in, I think, 9 counties right now. And this bill is supported by MACO because the counties will be the major beneficiaries of it by capturing more value for property tax. So that's why MACO supports it. It's just designed to take the system statewide, as I understand it. It's already going on in 9 counties.
If I can correct myself, even though the testimony didn't indicate total cost, in the fiscal note, it says that SDAT estimates the cost of a contract to provide this aerial imagery to be approximately $1 million annually.
And just what we need to do is raise our property taxes on our constituents even more in these tough times.
Reverse.
Reverse.
It's the reverse. It's making sure the property that should be subject to tax, like most homeowners, they know what the value of your house is and you're paying on that. What they're missing is stuff they can't easily see in terms of buildings, not people, but buildings. And so the whole point of the technology is to make sure that if you have a house and you build a second house on the property and they don't know about it, it gets subject to the tax. So it helps most taxpayers by making sure that the base is bigger. It doesn't raise anybody's tax bill. And that's why the counties are for it, because it means that they'll collect more, and the state will collect a little bit more revenue from folks who should be paying taxes now, but the department isn't able physically to identify it. That's the way it's been explained to me by the department. That's the only reason I put it in.
Senator Zucker?
Mako had suggested amendments. Are these the amendments?
Oh, no, I'm not aware of that.
So, because it said favorable with amendments, but if we're not accepting their amendments, are they favorable?
SDAT? Oh, yeah, go ahead.
That's why I had mine. It just says, however, Mako urges clarity and local input on the fiscal impact of installing and maintaining. So it sounds like they want to weigh in on a database, especially as counties already pay 50% of SDAT's cost for real property and business property valuation information. It sounds like they pay 50% of technology already. Additionally, counties encourage the committee to address potential administrative challenges to ensure efficient implementation. So they didn't give an amendment, but in their letter, that was the portion that they wanted some say in reference to the equipment or technology that's being purchased.
This one, this point?
Sorry? Yeah, it is on point. I mean, I'm happy to hold it and ask them if they got any specific things they want to put in.
Senator Corrigan?
Good now.
All right, well, let's hold it. We'll ask them and we'll keep moving. All right, the next one's on the list, 33030. It turns out we have a very similar bill coming up from another committee member this week, or next week. This week?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow. So we're just going to wait until we have both of them. All right, 344.
Okay, Senate Bill 3.
344.
Senate Bill 344 is a reintroduction from a bill that you all had last year that this committee did not vote on. It is substantively identical. The difference is that this bill adds an intent statement. What this bill does is it authorizes the local counties or municipalities to grant a property tax credit for properties that have been converted from like a retail service station to another retail, residential, or mixed use thing. And there are definitions in here as to what would make those properties qualify. And then the bill says that the locals would set the amount and duration. And then it does have a requirement that the state pay for 50% of it, but then it says as provided in the state budget, which kind of negates that mandate. So it would not be mandated funding unless a governor chose to split the cost of 50% of that credit.
Yes,
Just run out of time. You said we did not vote on this last year?
presumably, yeah.
Okay.
No, I think this is a good bill to help redevelopment of some properties that probably have gone through some environmental impact issues and things like that. So to me, it seems like it's enabling. Yep, it's enabling. Yes, yep.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. All right.
We're crazy.
Yeah. 359.
All right, Senate Bill 359. what this does is for therapeutic childcare centers, you have a reprint here as well. The substance of the bill begins on page 2 of that reprint. So currently there is a mandate for fiscal years 23 through the current year of 25 for $3.7 million for this program. What this bill does, as introduced, would have made that mandated amount start in fiscal 27 and then continue in perpetuity. These amendments would have that $3.7 million mandate only go through fiscal 2029. Last year's bill, which you all did move, you had an amendment that also limited it to just a 3-year mandate. So this amendment is mirroring that, your action last year. Obviously, because 1 year has gone by, it's another set of 3 years. It's not 2028, it's 2029.
Okay. So this is the first mandate that we're taking up. And I think it's appropriate on some level because I do think this is assisting some of our most vulnerable Marylanders. And it is one that I can support. I don't know where these mandates will go, as a matter of fact. And it's small enough that it's not overwhelming, even though it's not insignificant. And we'll have to consider a couple more of these along the way, but ones that are in this range probably more than anything else. So I'm comfortable moving forward with this. I think at the end of the day, a lot of these, any decisions on mandates at the end of the day are going to probably be part of an analysis of where we are in the budget. But it's certainly one that I think has merit. So I would certainly support this amendment, this bill as amended. Any other comments?
No, I just a quick one here. I agree with where you're going with this, and I appreciate it. It's one of those things that I know it's a mandate, but I'm sorry that it's in that kind of a position because it's such a worthwhile program that I hate to have to keep coming back every year and asking for money for it. But, I mean, if I have to, I have to. So I'm happy with that kind of an outcome for right now.
Okay. Senator Corderman?
Thank you. Just to kind of echo those same sentiments. I know that mandates, especially on our side of the aisle, can get people's hair to stand up sometimes, but I would agree with you, Mr. Chairman, of sometimes it's necessary, especially when we're talking about individuals with these needs. And so we're fully supportive and would move favorable.
Okay. Second. All those in favor as amended?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. All right, and we have one more that was on a previous list. I think it's 295.
Senate Bill 295 establishes an income tax reconciliation program to allow individuals who are currently serving 6 month to 10-year sentence in prison and unable to file their taxes. It gives them the opportunity to apply for an installment plan to pay their taxes. For persons participating in the program, the comptroller is required to waive penalties and interest. A question came up in the last voting session, and I reached out to the comptroller's office about the program mentioned. Unfortunately, the comptroller said that they did not have a program set up where the court system would allow for those payments and installments. The two programs that the comptroller's office do have are an offer in compromise and the low-income hardship program, but this particular program does not conflict with those.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And obviously, we had a clear example with Dr. Johnson in reference to this specific experience. During the interim, the issue was brought to me and huddled with the comptroller's office, but not just the comptroller's office, with Secretary Scruggs over there with public safety to make sure that we can get it in a posture that both agencies could do the work from that standpoint. They wouldn't have heartburn. You saw that the comptroller was testifying. What previously happened was that a person may go, I may work in the comptroller's office, and I have that level of discretion to say that. But at the end of the day, I think that fundamentally we don't want to have barriers, and we saw the comptroller from that standpoint. If you're incarcerated, there's no way that you're paying the penalties and the interest that's accruing while you're incarcerated. So that's why the program or the formation of the program came to fruition.
Senator Zucker?
Yeah, not often I get to put on my old comptroller hat, so I owe Senator McRae for this one. No, so they still have to pay their taxes. This is just providing them a bridge that way. If they're in a facility, it's not racking up the penalties and interest, which colleagues, what would happen is they would rack up penalties and interest, then they would have to contact the comptroller's office afterward, where they would work out probably forgiving the interest and working out a payment plan anyway. So it just becomes that, it just adds another layer of bureaucracy. I think as long as they're paying their taxes and as long as it's being tracked, then I think it makes sense.
Other thoughts, questions?
We talk about a lot of people. What's the population? How many people are suffering?
Yes, ma'am. That question was asked during the hearing, and we couldn't compartmentalize, like, what is the number from that standpoint. But I think that they get these one-offs. I'll tell you in my experience what typically happens. Usually when someone has a bill and they're scared to talk to somebody about the bill, they come to you in the fourth quarter when something has already had maybe a license suspension or something like that versus dealing with it. So this gives the ability to have a formal process that's set up to say, no, here's your path forward and go and see the folks that you're supposed to see versus it just continuing to tack on that person's intimidated, scared, and then call us when it's possibly nothing we can do about it at that point is what usually happens. But no, they did not, to answer your question, they did not have like a formal number of how many people would be impacted.
Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? Okay, good, that's obviously yours, okay. I think I missed on 344. You want to do that, Senator Jennings? That tax credit? I thought you would.
Better teeth.
All right, did we get everything covered? Yep. Okay.